Hi, this is Darren with Save the Panel, and today we're going to look at the ZSE50 Zooz Siren and Chime one more time. Our previous video, we did a sort of a top-down review of the device, thought it was pretty neat, but in that video we realized that it is not listed as compatible with alarm panels, but I had a bit of a eureka moment, and I think I figured out a way to make it a very nice plug-and-play addition to the IQ4 slash maybe even all of alarm.com, but definitely with the IQ4 and alarm.com panels. So in today's video, we're going to explore how I got there, how I put it together, and other options that I tried, including other Zooz products and other Shelly products to make all this work together. So stay with me and let's explore how we got it assembled. Okay, so how did I come up with this idea? Well, if you recall from the last video, I did join the ZSE50 to the IQ4 panel, and during the join process, I received a warning that it was not compatible. I looked in the panel itself, as well as in alarm.com's back end, couldn't find it listed as a switch or a remote or really a device at all on the alarm.com cloud. So I kind of gave up and said, yeah, I agree, this is not compatible. However, what I realized later was I left it connected to the panel, forgot all about it, and realized, hey, our system check is coming out okay. It's not complaining about this from a system check perspective. And then I also realized, you know what? If we go in and look at the features, excuse me, the parameters and direct association capabilities, they are actually listed in here. Let's take a look.
Enter user code.
So here under View Associations, this Z Siren right here, device 88, is listed, and you know, we could build. It has on-off control as well as Lifeline available to associate from the Siren, and I thought, well, gee, what if we could associate to the Siren? So I happen to have in here this bedroom light, which is actually a Zooz ZSE50 over here on my test bench. Let me see if I can scroll you over here a little bit. Okay, so right here is my Zooz ZSE50, and if I turn this on, I'd have this light bulb connected to it, nice and basic. So I've said, what if I build an association from the 72 to the Siren? So let's zoom in here. So if I take my basic set group and I associate that to the Siren, will this actually go off? So now it's associated. So with the association in place, if I turn this on, the Siren should play whatever its default tone is and its default volume and default light flash. And let's see if it works. Now, warning, it might be loud and it might clip the audio a little bit, but I have it turned down to 10% for the default. Look, sure enough it does. Sure enough it does. And if I turn off the switch, the Siren turns off. All right, so wow, we have a way to trigger this now from the panel using direct association. So how are we going to make this useful? Well, if you recall, we also did another video where we got an independent Secolarm, Siren, and strobe to work by connecting it to a Zooz ZN16 relay. And I thought, we may be onto something, because if we're already controlling an existing Z-Wave relay with alarm.com, what if we associate that relay to the Z Siren, or I should say to the ZSE50 Siren? In theory, they should follow each other, right? And if you're having this strobe flash anyway during an alarm condition, well, it's just going to wind up alarming or activating all the ZSE50s that are directly associated to it. So this was my eureka moment. Would this work? Now, what's the problem? The problem is our friend here, the IQ panel, sometimes doesn't do a great job of direct association. I've noticed as I've had this panel in my home and here in the lab that some direct associations, you can build them in the panel, they just don't work. And sometimes they work flawlessly. The Zen72, for instance, does a great job. You associate something from that to another S2 level Z-Wave device, 9 times out of 10 it does work. But other devices, like a Zen30, for instance, on this panel, I have had very, very low luck, especially getting the secondary button on a Zen30 when directly associated to something else for it to actually function. And I believe those are limitations of the IQ4 rather than the device. But I thought we'd do a quick test. Let's walk through some things I have here in the lab and let's see what works and what doesn't for direct association to get this ZSE50 to actually fire. Okay, so the first one we tried, if you remember the original video about the Siren, the Seco alarm Siren and strobe, we used a Zen 16. So I just mocked this up here in our test lab. Apologize for the sloppy wiring, but so this is set up just like the previous video. So if we go over here, we find the Zen 16 and we turn it on, we get our strobe. By the way, I've muted the Siren in this guy so we don't go deaf, just made him a light for demo purposes. So this does work, you know, and we would build this with an automation rule in alarm.com to trigger when there's an alarm and all that good stuff. So now what we want to do is see if we can directly associate this to the ZSE16 and will it actually work. So let's go in here and give that a shot.
Enter user code.
Okay, so we're going to find our Zen 16, which is right here. And we have basic sec group 1 because I have relay 1 connected to this guy. So, and then we're going to try to directly associate that to the Siren. And we'll save that. And we're associated. So now if we try to turn this on, we'll see if the Siren makes noise. And it does not. And as I said, this is not a surprise. I've actually tried to associate other things in the IQ4 ecosystem from a Zen 16 to other devices, and it's really not worked ever. And it's, again, a limitation of the IQ4. But let's just try again for giggles. There are actually 2 ways to do associations here. Let me zoom in and I'll show you. And so what I did originally was, you see here is the Zen 16, and then each of the sub-devices, the multi-channel devices are here. Here's dot 1, dot 2, and dot 3 for the 3 relays here. So I originally built it from the primary instance, you know, using ID2 for basic set group 1. And I thought maybe that was the issue, so I'll go back here and instead directly attach it to Z16 strobe 90.1. So if we go here and use its basic set group for our Siren, just to see if it's any different. So we'll turn on the strobe. So the strobe's on and we have no Siren. So it's still not working. So we can conclude that if we followed the previous video and used the Zen 16 for our Seco alarm, we're kind of out of luck. What if we just swap this out for something different? Let's try the next one. Okay, so the next thing I tried was a Shelly Wave 1 relay powered by 12 volts. We really haven't used this much on the channel so far, but I do have a whole drawer full of Shelly devices. I really do like them. I really like their Wi-Fi flavor and all of the local scripting you can do on them. That'll be future videos. But for now, I had this in the drawer, so I said, oh, all right, what about a Shelly? So this is connected to the panel. It's wired identical to the Zen 16 wiring here into the strobe, and I have it in the panel as strobe-Shelly, so I'll just turn it on to show you that it indeed does work. And we could build the automation rules as usual, but now let's try our direct association and see, can we can we connect this over to the Siren? So Z-Wave devices, view associations. And here we are, strobe Shelly view. It has an on-off, and we will attach that to the Siren number 88. Come on. Okay, done. So let's take a look here and see if anything works. So we have no Siren. We'll do it again just for giggles. No action. No action out of the Siren. So, what is left? How about the ZSE50? We did another review of the ZSE50 in another video, and I got to tell you, I'm loving that relay. So let's give that a shot. Okay, so now I have the ZSE50 set up. Again, 12 volts, same configuration as the Shelly and the ZSE16. We're just using this guy, and you know, as we did before, ZSE50 strobe, we will just turn it on, and you can see that it works. Works fine. Okay, so let's set up direct association. Let's give this a try.
Enter user code.
All right, so we go down to the ZSE50 and it has on-off control, and we will choose our Siren. Save. Oop, I think I messed that up. There we go. Operation successful. That looks a lot better. So now if we turn this guy on, we should see if we get sound and flashing from our strobe. Ready? Wow. So that works. Look at that. Let's do it one more time. So we're just going to turn on this ZSE50. And when we turn it off, it ceases. So this actually works for direct association. Pretty cool. So what this means is, I believe the limit is 5, but don't quote me there. I couldn't find hard literature, but I believe you could associate up to 5 devices from here to a foreign device. So that means you could take, you know, 5 of these relatively low-cost Sirens, plug them in around your house, and have them all be triggered based on whatever automation action is triggering this ZSE50, and thereby you know, broadcasting that Siren throughout the home. So let's think about that for a minute, and in the next segment we're going to go through how I set this up and how to set the parameters in this so it plays the right sound file, the right volume, you have the right light flash, all those things you want to have for your setup. How do you set all that up from an IQ panel? It's nowhere near as intuitive as it is, say, in Home Assistant, where you get pretty menus, or certainly in the Z box, where the menus are awesome for parameters. So we'll get into that next. Okay, so one thing we're going to need to do to the ZSE50 is we're going to have to tell it what we want to do when it receives a direct association. And the trick there is the parameters or advanced configuration settings that we'll need to set. Specifically, the defaults. So first things first, parameter 1 here is the Siren playback mode. And in this case, let's play it in a loop forever until it's canceled by the user. That way, as long as the trigger is on, it's going to continually alarm until the trigger is turned off. So that means we're going to want to take option 3 here. So parameter 1 to option 3. The playback duration would not matter in this case, or the loop count, since we're playing it forever. But the playback tone is critical. So this is what file on the device are we going to play. So figuring that out is a little tricky, unfortunately, but we do need to pick a file or find the right file number based on what's on the device. So if we were to plug the device in and look at the files on the device it may or may not give us a good idea which file number is which. What I did find was that if you add your own files, they do appear to add at the top of the list. So if you sort them by date modified after you've added files, the files you add tend to be, say, 1 and 2 in this case, because I added the top 2 files. And based on that date modified sorting, STP alarm 2 is indeed file number 1 and fault MP3 is indeed file number 2. The other files, though, do not fall in line there. They actually stay in their original numbering scheme, just pushed down 2 levels. So very hard to figure out at this stage of the game, but suffice it to say, the file you add will become number 1. Maybe a little bit of trial and error there. So parameter 4 we will set to number 1. Also important is the playback volume. How loud do you want it to be? For our demo purposes, we're going to set this to 10 just to save my eardrums and yours. But you use this as actually an additional siren, you probably want it to be at full volume, which would be a setting of 100. We're going to set it to 10. And then lastly, what about the LED mode? What's the default mode going to be for the siren? And I love this red and blue strobe idea. It's kind of cool. So we're going to set parameter 6 to 2 for LED strobe. Okay, so let's go ahead and program those parameters. So here's how this is done on an IQ4 in case you don't know. You go to Settings, Advanced Settings. Once you're in Advanced Settings, you want the Z-Wave device list. And here you have all your Z-Wave devices and the ability to re-interview them, but you also have an info button. So we'll find our siren, which here it's number 88, other devices, I called it Z Siren. We'll go to info. And this gives you version info and all kinds of good stuff about the device. But eventually, as you scroll through, you'll find the configuration, command class configuration, and a little gear icon. This is for every Z-Wave device, by the way, has a very similar menu. And then here is where you would type in the parameter number, the decimal size, and the configuration value. If you put in the parameter number and check off default, it'll reset that parameter back to whatever the default is for that particular device. A couple of things to know here is that the values 9 times out of 10 are the values that are in, say, a Zooz parameter document, but some parameters have to be put in as hexadecimal. Things like the number of minutes of a delay, say, for a switch to automatically turn off at 10 minutes really needs to be put in as hexadecimal instead of decimal. Little tidbit there. But so we're going to go ahead and set up the first one, which is parameter 1 siren mode. We want it to play in a loop until canceled, which is option number 3. So we put in 1 for the parameter. We hit this little green guy, goes to the next option, which is the decimal size, which is 1. It's listed as the sized 1 byte decimal in the configuration file, so that's how we know it's a 1. And then we have 1 value, and we want that to be a 3. So we put a 3 in there, and then I hit that caret, and I turn off my keyboard, and then I can see the set button. When I hit set, it says sending data, and now that parameter is set to the device, and we move on to the next one. So our next one is the tone. We want that, whoops. The tone is parameter 4. Helps if I hit the right button, 4. The decimal size is 1. And we want that set as file number 1 that we're going to play. Remember, this is the parameter where the number we set for this configuration value is the number of the tone file that will play by default when direct association tells this thing to play. So we're going to set that. The next one is parameter 5, and that's also 1 byte, and this is the volume. So you may want this to be 100, right, for the maximum volume when you use this as a siren. Here, for testing purposes, to save our eardrums and our microphone, I'm just going to set this to 10. And the last parameter for me is the LED mode, which is parameter 6. Again, a byte of 1, and the LED mode of 2, which is the red-blue strobe that we like. So we'll set that to 2. and hit set. So now all those things are ready to go and they're in the device. So we can test this real quick. What I did to be tricky here on our Zen 58 is I just wired a momentary switch up to it to manually trigger the relay, which would cause direct association to fire over there just as a test. So we'll press it down. And we got everything that we should get. So, all good. Okay, so I thought now that we have it all put together, let's do a demo of the whole thing working. We're going to arm this alarm and trip a sensor and see the alarm go off as a response. So this is my test environment. These are real front and back doors. If I were to open one up, it actually has sensors on it. We have the back door set up to be an instant perimeter zone. So let's go ahead and arm the alarm.
Select arm system type. Arm stay.
So we're arm stay. We're going to open that door. We should get an alarm. I do have the audible alarms muted on the on this IQ4, so the only noise we would hear would be coming out of the ZSE50. Ready? So here we go.
Back door open. System is now disarmed.
And sure enough, it stops when we disarm the system. So I think that test worked great. So you can just imagine you have this thing pumped up to 100% volume. You have a couple of them around your house. I think you'll have great saturation of that alarm sound throughout the home. And there you have it. So contrary to popular belief, the ZSE50 does work with IQ4 alarm panels. Admittedly, we had to do a little bit of jury rigging and leverage the magic of Z-Wave, but I believe it is a very usable alternative. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.